introduce you to ISGAN that hosts this webinar. Okay, ISGAN is the short name for the International Smart Grid Action Network, a technology collaboration program of the International Energy Agency. ISGAN is also an initiative of the Clean Energy Ministerial, formally established in 2011. ISGAN creates a strategic platform to support high-level government attention and action for the accelerated development and deployment of smarter and clearer electricity grids around the world, and consists of 27 contracted parties from all over the world, represented in 6 active working groups, covering the different smart grid topics from cost-benefit analysis to flexibility markets. The vision of ISGAN is to accelerate the progress on the key aspects of smart grid policy, technology, and investment through voluntary participation by government in projects and programs. ISGAN initiative focus on 5 principal areas: policy standards and regulation, finance and business models, technology system development, workforce skills and knowledge, users and consumers engagement. ISGAN facilitates dynamic knowledge sharing, technical assistance, peer review, and project coordination among its contracting parties. The value proposition of ISGAN relies on conferences and workshops, policy and technology briefs, discussion and technical papers, casebooks, and webinars. Within ISGAN, virtual learning offers the ISGAN community means of rational and continuous technical skill complement and update in the field of smart grids. The Academy is proposed as a set of learning and reading core modules dealing with the entire value chain of smart grids. The webinar of today deals with the ISGAN Award 2022 winners on electric vehicle integration in smart grids. And now, before leaving the floor to the winners, I'm pleased to introduce Chloe Sung-ji Hyun from the Korean Smart Grid Institute to present ISGAN Award of Excellence, our initiative.
Thank you, Matteo. Hello, this is Chloe Yoon, ISGAN Co-Secretariat and Award Coordinator. The International Smart Grid Action Network launched the award competition to recognize excellence in smart grid project policies and programs around the world. The ISGAN Award of Excellence seeks to leverage leadership and innovation in smart grids to accelerate the global exchange of best practices and promote the application or adaptation of proven concepts in other markets, countries, and religions. By showcasing exemplars in the global smart grid community, the ISGAN Award promotes a shared global understanding of the value that smarter electricity systems can bring, and also address gaps in related technology and tools, and create opportunities for more peer-to-peer learning and engagement. It will also draw attention to the value offered by smart grid systems. Next slide, please. The ISGAN Award of Excellence is a prize given to one or more smart grid projects each year at the conclusion of an annual international award competition. The Award of Excellence marked the recipients' project as exemplars in the global smart grid community. Currently, ISGAN is implementing the award competition in partnership with the Global Smart Energy Federation, GSEF. Each year of the ISGAN Award competition focuses on one or more topical themes chosen by ISGAN and GSEF to highlight the critical aspect of smart grid project policies and programs. For the 8th ISGAN Awards, ISGAN selected 2 themes. First one is excellence in EV integration in smart grids, and second one was smart grid workforce development for an inclusive energy transition. This webinar is for the award winners of EV integration in smart grid. Next slide, please. For these themes, ISGAN and GSEF selected 3 award honorees, as you can see, and today the winner project, Stedin from the Netherlands, and runner-up project by KEPCO from South Korea will deliver their good practice testimonies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chloe. Okay, now as introduced, we will present the two projects. First, we will start with the winner from Stadin. Bart de Vries will present the project, and then we will have the presentation from Kijun Park from the Korea Electric Power Corporation. I kindly ask you to use the question and answer tool to pose your questions. We will after the webinar, after the presentation, we will pose your question to the speakers that will kindly answer. And then afterwards, we will publish on the ISGAN YouTube channel the recordings of this webinar. So thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Bart. I'm going to start with the presentation now.
Yes, thank you very much, Matteo. It's an honor to have won this award. Welcome, everybody. Presentation is the project we're doing is smart solar charging. And maybe you can switch on to the next slide.
Yes, 1 second, it seems stuck.
Yeah, no worries. I represent Stadin. Stadin is a grid operator in the Netherlands. We are unbundled, so we only do the grid energy services. And as you see, this is a famous bridge. We're based in the city of Rotterdam, and we serve 3 provinces with the largest European port, the Port of Rotterdam, but also 3 largest cities in the Netherlands, The Hague, Rotterdam, and Utrecht. And we have some challenges. Maybe the next slide. Apart from e-mobility, which you can see here in electric vehicle charging, in the background, you see a Dutch house. And on top, you see a large rooftop solar. Well, previous to the Ukraine invasion by Russia, we already had a very, very steep increase of solar rooftop solar, which is, of course, very good for the environment. And of course, people can make a little bit of money out of it by generating their solar energy themselves. But on the other hand, it causes during sunny days in the summer, a steep increase of supply onto our grids. And what you don't see in the house is a heat pump. So that is a demand peak during the cold winter days. And in the forefront, you see an electric vehicle, of course, charging. And from the start, from 2010, we thought about not solving these individual supply peaks or demand peaks, but to integrate them into each other. And this is where the smart grids come in. We might use the electric vehicle not only as a sustainable solution for mobility, but the battery of the vehicle can also be a buffer for the energy system. Next slide, please. Well, I mentioned the rooftop solar, which we try to integrate. Here you see a house, but in the background, many, many more houses with all the solar generation on top of them. We had an increase of 50% of rooftop solar in the past year. And of course, as a grid operator, we can't invest our way out. You have to dig up all the cables and all the distribution transformers. Next slide, please. Which, of course, isn't very expensive, isn't only very expensive, but it causes also a lot of trouble because we have an underground grid. You have to open all the streets. And well, you cause not only congestion on the grids, but also congestion with the traffic, and you don't want that. So to facilitate all the rooftop solar and all e-mobility, you have to do something different apart from investing in your grid. Next slide, please. And this is where the electric vehicle comes in. First step is, of course, smart charging. I mentioned the supply peaks and the demand peaks by heat pumps and the supply peaks by rooftop solar. And during the day, in the morning, often people start charging at 9 o'clock in the office, or when they come home at night, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and they start charging. But well, we did a lot of consumer research with the University of Utrecht, and people don't really mind that grid operators or charge point operators or the vehicle itself decides what time or what moment of the day the vehicle should be charged, as long as they have a full battery when they leave. So with an app, if you can pinpoint, I want to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, or I have a meeting at 8 o'clock in the evening because I go to sporting, I want a full battery, then you can control a little bit of the charging. Keep in mind, in the Netherlands, but many other countries, a vehicle is only driven roughly 1-2 hours a day, and it's parked 22 hours. So you have a lot of time to pick the correct moment to charge the vehicle when energy prices are low, or there's a lot of grid capacity, or when there's a supply peak of the solar energy. So this is the effect of smart charging. You can balance your grids. Next slide, please. And we need this because this is a study on the grid of Utrecht by the grid operator Stedin, together with the University of Utrecht. And I'll talk you through the slide. Starting at the left, this is a neighborhood where we calculated how much do we have to invest in the grids if we just have the heat pumps and the solar energy. So no electric vehicles mentioned. And the dots are distribution transformers. So those are the knots in the grid, and they're quite hard to replace or to upgrade. It's expensive, it's time consuming. You can't do, it takes a few months or sometimes even years to have the permits and the planning, and of course you have to purchase the transformers themselves. And if you in the Stedin grid, we have over 40,000 distribution transformers. So that's not a thing, an operation you can do in a year or even 5 years. There are many transformers. And if you have no electric vehicles but rooftop solar, you have 25% of the distribution transformers have an overload in the future. If you add electric vehicles, and that's one picture to the right, 48 of the distribution transformers have an overload in the future. But with smart charging, traditional charging, this decreases to 30% of distribution transformers with an overload, which you have to replace. And with dynamic charging, so smart charging is you can't charge at 5 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock, when you have the normal demand peak of households getting back at home. With dynamics charging, that is when the sun breaks through on a cloudy day, you start charging. So you have to align the solar with your charging stations and the electric vehicle. And this is, of course, smart grid solution you want to have. And then you see still you can add electric vehicles, but still 25% of distribution transformers have an overload. The holy grail is bidirectional charging, vehicle to grid. When there's a demand peak, when households get home, start cooking, doing their laundry, charge your computer, you discharge your vehicle a little bit. The battery of the electric vehicle has a capacity to drive 400 kilometers, but actually nobody does that in a normal day, maybe on a holiday, but the daily commute in the Netherlands is not very different than other countries, roughly 50 kilometers back and forth, sometimes a bit more, but still you have 50, 75% of the battery unused, and you can use this for bidirectional services. So discharge when there's a big demand peak on the grid, or charge during the afternoon hours when there's a supply peak on the grid. Next slide, please. And this is what we calculated for the city of Utrecht with only 8,000 vehicles, 8,500. You can have all the storage and buffer capacity to power a whole city, a city of 400,000 inhabitants and roughly 100,000 vehicles. So with only less than 10% of the vehicles, you can they have so much capacity, you can balance the whole energy system. But this is a calculation. This isn't done yet. So this is where we started to see if the idea really works in practice. Next slide, please. Yeah, 130,000 vehicles. But you have to have the bidirectional vehicles. And our journey started here with the King and Queen on a state visit in March 2016, a deal between Utrecht and Renault to have these bidirectional vehicles based on AC, because most charging stations in Utrecht are AC charging stations. And the deal was that Renault should build the first batch of bidirectional vehicles as a test to see if this idea works in practice. Next slide, please. But many others followed. This is the Ioniq 5. It was launched last year. 25 bidirectional vehicles in Utrecht to scale up the test. This is special because it's not a test vehicle, which Renault built, but this is a real vehicle from Korea. And I think the next speaker will present also a little bit on his experiences with this vehicle. And we're rolling out large scale. Utrecht did a tender. So there's always the chicken and egg problem. First it was there are no vehicles, so there are no chargers. And this time we saw there are no bidirectional vehicles because there are no bidirectional chargers. Next slide, please. So this is what Utrecht did. A little bit of innovation and standardization. The city of Utrecht did a tender on 800 bidirectional charging stations. Of course, not enough for the future 8,000 bidirectional vehicles, but it is to learn, to get experience how to roll out not only bidirectional vehicles by Hyundai or Renault, but also to learn what type of chargers you need, because there is a need for standardization. Standardization on the vehicle side. How can you align a French vehicle with a Korean vehicle, for example, and many other vehicles to come? But also standardization on the chargers. Which standards and protocols do you need? And for the people involved, we use ISO 15118-20 in combination with OCPP 2.0.1, and OCPP is developed into a new version which will be launched in the end of this year, it will be 2.1, a version of OCPP, which will support a standardized way of bidirectional charging. This is important because the distinction should be on luxury cars or affordable cars, such as the Volkswagen Beetle, or sexy convertible, such as the Mercedes, but not on the way the charging, the bidirectional service is. You have many different countries with hundreds of different grid operators, and you can't have individual projects each time. So very big focus on standardization and harmonization to upscale this test in Utrecht broader in the Netherlands and in Europe and possibly abroad. Next slide, please. Well, I mentioned the rollout of 800 bidirectional charging stations in Utrecht. This is a small slideshow how it looks, mostly on sunny days, the pictures. But Utrecht is preparing for the large-scale rollout of the facilitation of the vehicles which will come, and this helps also for the vehicle manufacturers. Next slide, please. So this is what we're trying to create via standardization, an open market with competition, because as you could see, people in Utrecht are not only driving Renaults or not only driving electric Hyundais, but many other cars, such as Fiat or Polestar or Teslas or whatever. And this competition is good because people have a choice between affordable cars, luxury cars. It creates a balance in the market. And a market should create fair and reasonable conditions for new entrants. There are many startups in the Netherlands trying to have innovation, but also make a little bit of new business, creating new jobs. And of course, it creates a little bit of price pressure. Yesterday, we had a unique situation in the Netherlands. It was very sunny, and there was so much generation that we had negative energy prices. So can you imagine, if you charge your vehicle yesterday in the afternoon, you get paid to charge your vehicle. So you're not paying for the electricity. No, the electricity is paying services, suppliers are paying you to charge your vehicle because there's an overload on the grid. Next slide, please. And this is, of course, you can get paid by a dynamic market where you have a little bit of competition. So our project is creating balance in the market, but we try to integrate the vehicle into the energy system, which is a new vision. But to do this, you have to integrate automotive sector together with the grid operators and the energy system. And for example, banking for paying the negative energy prices to the consumer. And for this, you need a lot of standardization and open protocols, and that's what we're working on at Stedin via ELAT, collaboration of Dutch DSOs. So thank you very much for your attendance. I think I'm quite on time. And if you have any questions apart from this webinar, feel free to reach out on my email address written here. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Matteo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your interesting presentation, Bart. Now I leave the floor to Kijun to present the project from Korea.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Would you like me to share the screen or
Yes,
are
please.
you going to?
Yeah.
Okay. Just 1 second. Okay, can you see it? Oh, okay, there is this black.
Yep, you can see it. Okay.
Okay.
Good afternoon and good morning. I am Kijun Park. I'm in charge of Korean V2G system development and demonstration program. The content of my talk is like this. I briefly introduce the vehicle grid integration and the V2G technology application for the grid flexibility, and I'll update what's going on the KEPCO AC V2G demonstration project. First of all, as Bart explained, nowadays the all kinds of renewables are increasing to reduce carbon dioxide emission. So the fluctuating photovoltaics or wind turbines that has to supply the stable load just shown in the right side of the slide. So to compensate those fluctuations of PV and wind turbines, we can use the batteries of electric vehicles. This is the dot curve introduced in South Korea late years. This is net load curve of Jeju Island in the lowest load day of April from 2017 to 2021. As the PV increased, we see a strong dot curve in recent years. So we have to curtail all those excessive generation from the photovoltaics. This is my imagination. So this is actual curve produced in October 18th of 2022, last year. The green line, that is actual net load curve. And the dotted green line, which is a curtailed amount of the energy during the daytime. So if we can utilize 10,000 electric vehicles of 10 kilowatt, then we can absorb all those excessive energy from PV during the daytime, and we can use that energy stored in the battery during the afternoon ramp or evening peak. We only need like 10,000 electric vehicles of 10 kilowatt. Therefore, we can operate the grid reliably and increase the utilization of the renewable energy. There are two types of V2G system. One is AC and the other is DC. The AC V2G, which the bidirectional function occurred in the onboard charger, which is in the vehicle. So the onboard charger inside the vehicle that convert DC power of the battery into AC 220 volts, single phase or three phase. And the DC type, which is available for several years from the CHAdeMO standard, the conversion function is occurred in the external charger. So the charger is directly connected to the batteries of electric vehicle, and then that convert the DC power into AC and then connect to grid. Therefore, the system, the charger is expensive because of the function, the power conversion functions of the electric vehicle supply equipment. This is for your information. Comparison between the DC V2G on the left side and the AC VTG on the right side. So the cost of a charger is a much higher for that DC VTG, usually 5 to 10 times expensive than the AC. From the May or April of 2021, since the introduction of Hyundai Ioniq 5, the V2L, vehicle to load feature, is standard for every vehicle introduced by Hyundai Motor Company since April 2021. And also the Ford F-150 and the 2024 Chevy Silverado from the GM that also support vehicle to load function. Therefore, you can use the batteries for your whatever equipment, such as microwave oven or the coffee pot, coffee machines. This is because of our development of a V2G onboard charger with the Hyundai. Okay. This is for your information. The economics of the flexibility system for the power grid. The V2G system, which is equivalent to the battery ESS and the pumped hydro, and to make a grid flexibility resource such as pumped hydro, you need to connect the transmission level connection, which is like 154 kV or 345 kV in the case of South Korea. That requires the long time to construct all those transmission lines. But in the case of V2G, you only need to install a simple charger, which can be installed in a few days in your parking lot. And the construction cost is like around 5 to 10 times lower than those pumped hydro or battery energy storage system, because we can utilize the batteries of electric vehicle, which is in the parking lot for long time during the day, like 22 hours. We started the V2G project from October 2018 with the Hyundai Motor Company and the DC and AC charger manufacturers and universities and the research institutions. We developed the AC and DC bidirectional chargers and onboard charger for the commercial vehicle. And we also developed the vehicle grid integration or V2G control and management system. To find out what happened to the battery, we also studied the battery life impact of smart charging and V2G charge and discharge. In this project, we developed the essential component of the V2G system. On the right, the Hyundai Motor developed bidirectional onboard charger for Ioniq 5 and other commercialized electric vehicles. The Arbok Korea, they developed the V2G EVSE or V2G charger with the communication between the operating system and charger and the electric vehicle and the bidirectional metering. And we KEPCO developed the V2G management system that forecast and control and generating the charging schedules according to the driver's charging need, such as departure time and target charge level and the tariff, time of use rate. after development of this system, we tested in our institution the test bed with many Ionic 5 electric vehicles. The graph shown in the right side shows aggregated power at the moment of a charge-discharge of 5 electric vehicles. The 5 electric vehicles that charging at the level of 7 kilowatt, so which is about 35 kilowatt in total, and we sent the signal to discharge, and all the vehicles simultaneously change from charge to discharge, and it discharge at 5 kilowatt per vehicle, so which is about 25 kilowatt. And we found that the transition time between the charge to discharge or discharge to charge is less than 10 seconds, which is about same or better than the pumped hydro power plant in the grid system. With this test, we started the demonstration for fleet and personal Ionic 5 owners. This is started in November 2021, and we recruited more than 100 Ionic 5 owners, and we installed this AC VT charger in their parking space or in their commercial buildings. And we started to see what's going on with the actual environment of typical customers. The system charges at 7 kilowatt and discharges at 5 kilowatt at AC 220 volt single phase in Korea. So finally, we recruited 52 personal electric vehicles of individuals and more than 30 for the test bed and employees of our participating organizations, and 20 EVs of a rental car company and our headquarter commercial vehicle. The good thing of the V2G is that we can use the power battery whenever we need, if the vehicle is connected to the charger. But in the case of smart charging, we can utilize the smart charging during the charging session. So the utilization of a V2G system is much higher than the smart charging. This slide shows the charge and discharge record from the September of 2022 to the March of this year. The blue line shows the charge power. So in the daily session, the charging power goes up to like 140 kilowatt. The green line shows the controlled power or the DR, demand response, the controlled power. During the session, we sent the control signal. And from time to time, we sent the discharge signal, which shows in the orange line. So in the case of a day, we can utilize more than 10 electric vehicles simultaneously to support the grid up to 50 kilowatt. People always ask, what happened to the battery if my car is used for such a charge and discharge operation for a long time? So to answer that questions, we studied the battery effect of battery life for the regular charging, the smart charging, and the vehicle to grid charge and discharge session for more than 1,300 charge and discharge cycles, which is equivalent to the mileage of 350 kilometers of driving. And we found the difference between the regular charging, the dumb charge, and the V2G is about less than 2%. In the other words, this 2% can happen because of your driving habit or charging style. So we found that the electric vehicle can be used for the V2G service without severe degradation of the batteries. We used the exactly same battery that is used for that Ioniq 5 electric vehicle. This is my conclusion. I think now is the time to prepare the public and private charging infrastructure for those V2G electric vehicles of the future. The EV, the V2G EV, is a new kind of flexibility resource for the electric power system, and it will help to connect more solar and wind resources. The bidirectional OBC for the grid integration or V2G service and the V2LUG will be standard feature for the new electric vehicles. I see the EV9 by Kia Motor that support the ISO 15118-20 standard that fixed last year, and the new vehicle that will be available sometime at the end of this year or the early next year. So it's a time to prepare and deploy more AC chargers with the V2G capabilities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kijun. Now we can move to the question and answer session. Maybe, well, I encourage all the people that are connected using the Teams software, not by the browser, to use the question and answer section to pose the question to the speakers. I see that there are some of you already started posing the question. I can start asking maybe to Bart about about the some aspect in that was touched during the presentation, that it seems that the war of current may not be over yet. So if you could please elaborate a bit on the fact that AC or DC may be used for charging. I mean, if we are going towards standardization, are we going to standardize both?
Well, good question. Thank you very much. Of course, there is always, you have the true believers in DC, direct current, or the true believers in AC, alternating current. The communication with the grid behind it, whether it's a DC charger or an AC charger, that can be standardized via ISO 15118-20 or OCPP. So for the communication standards and protocols, it doesn't matter that much. What we do see in Utrecht is that there's a large preference for AC because the electricity grids are AC, and you have to convert somewhere the energy from the battery, which is DC. And if the inverter is in the vehicle, there are many inverters already in the vehicle. So the social costs of the rollout of the correct charging network is much cheaper for the municipality if you make efficient use of the inverters in the vehicle. So Utrecht is focusing on an AC bidirectional stadium, and the Hyundai and the Renault, but many other car manufacturers are also deploying an AC strategy. But in the end, you can do both with proper standards and communication, and both, whether it's AC or DC, both is good for the grids and the consumer.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. Maybe I can ask also Kijun to if can say something regarding this aspect, and maybe I can also add and to ask when they expect to buy or deploy commercialized vehicle to grid electric vehicles that support the international standards.
Okay. Well, for the AC and DC thing, in the viewpoint of the power utility, we prepare the AC infrastructure because the cost of the installation or the construction is much cheaper for those AC V2G infrastructures. Well, actually, a few weeks ago in the Seoul Motor Show, the Kia Motor Company, they introduced the EV9, the sports utility vehicle, the large electric vehicle, and which support the standard, international standard ISO 15118-20, which is finalized last year. And they said that the EV9 will officially support the ISO, the protocol. And I think that the EV9 will be the first commercially available fully V2G supported vehicle. So I hope you may buy one sometime in the second half of this year. I'm sure that the standard EVSC or V2G charger will also be available at the time. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for this clarification. And now moving from the technical aspect to the maybe regulatory aspect of charging, because there is a question from Sweden about the incentives that have been introduced in Netherlands for bidirectional charging. So Bart, I don't know if you can elaborate a bit. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the question is about regulatory barriers, I think. Well, of course, we and Capco and Hyundai are all working on the technical aspects of bidirectional charging and deployment, but regulation is always lacking a little bit behind technical innovation. For example, double taxation is an issue that double energy taxation is an issue which isn't only a problem in the Netherlands, but abroad. Everybody pays a little bit of energy tax in most parts of the world, but if you do bidirectional charging, you can end up with paying lots and lots of tax. Every time you charge your vehicle, discharge your vehicle, charge it again, every time you have to pay tax, which is of course a big cost driver. So we should solve that. A second thing is many grids in different countries have different grid codes, often caused by security and safety issues, but they differ a little bit. And at the moment, we're working together with many other European countries and even the United States and Capco in Korea on identifying different grid codes, so we can push forward a bit of standardized regulation to incentive faster rollout. Hope that answers the question a bit, because there are many regulatory tiny details to solve, but then we have another hour to fill.
Yeah. The regulatory is another layer. Regulation is another layer of the problem, and yes, it is another topic. Thank you for your clarification. Actually, maybe
if the question, I can share a report we've done. So if the question, the one who has the question, reach out to me by email, I can forward the report.
Yes, thank you. Any relevant reference we can add in the description of the video that you will be published in YouTube. So yes, it will be a nice contribution. Thank you. And before asking about regulation and incentives on bidirectional charging in Korea, maybe I can ask you if it is if you have some element regarding customer engagement in Netherlands. If you have any, if in the project there were any element on this.
Yeah, of course. Keep in mind that for us this is innovation, and a grid operator has two important goals. We must balance the energy system, so we're a system operator, and that's what the technical thing is. The second thing, we have to facilitate the market. Our budget is driven on R&D money, so it isn't, we are not commercial, we're a monopolist, but we have in mind that car manufacturers such as Hyundai or consumers with rooftop solar want to make money in the end, and we have to facilitate that market. So this project isn't driven from a perspective that there is a business case already. We foresee there is a business case. I mentioned yesterday we had negative energy prices in the Netherlands. But still, it is an R&D project. It isn't an off-the-shelf product at the moment. But yes, there will be a business case in near future, we expect.
Okay, thank you very much for this clarification. Now I ask to Ki-jun about the regulation in Korea for bidirectional charging. If it is possible, if there are already if there are incentives, and if there is also some aspect related to the consumer engagement. If the people seem like to be happy to share the battery with the network.
First of all, I will explain this way. It until I think this year or early next year, it will be a chicken and egg program, because until at the end of this year, we don't see the commercially available the V2G electric vehicle or the V2 chargers. So after the introduction of commercially available the V2G EV and charger, then the regulators will discuss how we could support or engage the customers by helping them to connect their electric vehicle as a flexibility resource. I'm sure that the regulators and the utility could make them to engage by supporting them some monetary the service because the utilities needed to construct more and more energy storage systems to integrate renewable energies. That costs a lot of money to utilities and the government. Therefore, we have to utilize the increasing number of electric vehicles in the future. So I'm sure we could make utilize all those EVs in the future, and we could make the business case for the customers and the aggregators and the virtual power plant operators. It will take some time, but I'm sure the utilities and the government will do things work.
Thank you very much for the perspective also from Korea. We are running out of time, so yeah, thank you to the audience to join, and thank you to the speakers for their presentation. So I leave you the floor in case you want to say to remark some concept and maybe some mention which are the next steps and like greet the people that joined the webinar. So maybe we can start with Bart, and then we can have a few words from also the few words from Kijun.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity, and of course it's an honor to have won this prize. But the good thing was also to via this prize to get in contact with Capco, so we can join the forces on the rollout of more smart grids and more bidirectional charging. So very thankful for having had this platform.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to update what's going on in the South Korean V2G project. I'm sure that we will see the commercialized electric vehicles that is capable of the standard V2G function in a year or two, and I'm sure that we will see all the manufacturers, major EV manufacturers, who will deliver such a capable vehicle for the utilities and for the customers. And I hope for you buy your next vehicle, which is electric vehicle, capable of V2G functions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kijun. And yeah, thank you again for presenting in the webinar. And well, I haven't said that. Congratulations for being awarded with your initiative for the ISGAN, and to have been granted by this award of excellence. So now, thank you to the audience also to join. Again, I remind that the video of the presentation will be available on the ISGAN YouTube channel. And thank you to Chloe and KSGI for organizing the ISGAN Award of Excellence 2022. And I also remind that the call for 2023 is still open, and it will close by the end of this month. So please look at it at the ISGAN website. You can find all the information to submit your application and to participate in the call for the next year. So thank you again for joining, and have a nice day, and see you in the next webinar. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.